I was a kid in the 90s, I used to get chain letters all the time. They were usually something simple. This is a letter, forward it on to a certain number of people, then add yourself to the list of people who have already gotten the letter. These chain letters have been around for well over a century, but not all of them are so innocent. Let's look at a story that was spread via one of these chain letters, the story of Carmen Winstead. There are a few different versions of the Carmen Winstead story floating around. Some are pretty bare bones, others are more detailed. So I've cobbled together everything I could find to give what I feel is the most complete version. Carmen's story begins around the year 2000 when she was about 17. We're not sure where she lived at the time, but her dad lost his job, and I guess he got a new one in Indiana because that's where the family moved. Carmen was a shy girl and had trouble making friends, especially since she'd transferred to a new school in the middle of the year. She soon found a group of girlfriends, but eventually discovered they were trashing her behind her back, as girls often do. When she confronted the girls, they started bullying her. Things like calling her nasty names, writing swear words on her books, and vandalizing her locker. One day, Carmen finally had enough. She decided to stay after school to tell her teacher what was going on, but she never got the chance. After lunch, the teacher announced there would be a fire drill. When the alarm rang, the students filed outside and teachers began calling roll to make sure everyone had gotten out. As the roll was being called, Carmen's bullies decided this would be the perfect time to embarrass her. She was standing near a sewer, so they pushed her in. Her classmates standing nearby saw what was going on and started laughing, but stopped when they saw her body at the bottom of the sewer, unmoving. The police were called, and they discovered that Carmen's face had been torn off by the ladder, and her neck had broken when she hit the bottom of the sewer, killing her. The girls who pushed Carmen told the police that it was an accident, that she had fallen, and everyone believed them, for a while. Over the next few months, Carmen's classmates began receiving strange messages on their various social media pages. The messages recounted what really happened to Carmen, called for the receiver to share her story, and sometimes urged the bullies who pushed her to come forward, or else. Some versions of the story said the bullies who pushed her were killed one by one and their bodies were found in sewers, but didn't give much more information. One incident that has been described in more detail is what happened to David Gregory. David Gregory was a classmate of Carmen's, according to most sources. Some said he was just some kid who heard about her. Either way, he got the message about Carmen but laughed and deleted it. Later on that evening, when he went to take a shower, he heard laughter coming from the shower, and it sounded like Carmen's. How he would have known that, I have no idea, but I'm just the messenger here. David ran to his phone or his computer, depending on the version, to repost the message, but it was too late. In the middle of the night, David's mom was woken up by a strange noise. When she went to his room to check on him, he was gone, and a message written in blood said, "You will never have him back." David's body was found the next morning in a sewer with his neck broken and the skin on his face peeled off. Other sources have told a similar story, but say it happened to a girl. So if you haven't figured it out by now, the story of Carmen Winstead isn't true. There are no records of anyone named Carmen Winstead dying in this manner in Indiana or anywhere else. The story started circulating back in the early 2000s on sites like MySpace. Various versions of it have been posted on places like Facebook, Reddit, Amino, and some creepypasta websites. I read in a few places that the story was started by teenage girls on MySpace to see how many friends they could get from it, but I could never find confirmation of this. The most common form the Carmen Winstead story is told in is chain letter. The poster, sometimes claiming to be Carmen herself, will tell the story of what happened and warn you to pass it on. If you don't believe the story, or if you don't read the whole message and pass it on to more people, sometimes within a specific time frame, Carmen will get you. When you go to sleep, you'll wake up in a sewer, unable to move. You'll hear Carmen's laughter and she'll rip your face off, the same thing that was done to her. Carmen's also been said to be able to see without eyes, maybe because they were ripped off along with the rest of her face in the sewer. She won't kill anyone younger than 13 and can be weakened by loud, obnoxious noises. She's also reportedly been spotted in a Grand Theft Auto game. Interestingly, some versions of the story will end by saying that the story is true and you can Google it. But when you do Google it, all you find is page after page reiterating the legend. No news articles or other reports pop up. In some versions, Carmen's name has been changed to Jessica Smith, and in at least one, David Gregory is changed to Ron Anderson. Jessica can also get you from a toilet or shower. The Carmen Winstead legend isn't exactly mainstream. Most of the information I found on it was from various paranormal websites. It's never been talked about by any sort of paranormal investigators or even folklore professors or historians like a lot of these legends. It's mostly confined to social media. And it's easy to see the appeal of this story. It's about an outcast who has a hard time with things but gets her comeuppance in the end. Indiana, where the story takes place, can be seen as a relatively normal place to live, giving the story a sort of everyman vibe. There's also an element of fear for those of us who read the story but have no other attachment to it. If we raise awareness about bullying by sharing Carmen's story, we can feel good about ourselves and avoid her wrath. And it wasn't until I started filming and saying Carmen's name out loud multiple times, but the name sounds an awful lot like karma. Interesting. But perhaps the biggest part of the story's appeal is its chain letter format. According to an article from Miami University, chain letters are letters that direct the recipient to send out multiple copies so that circulation increases. By the way, Miami University is actually in Ohio, not Miami. This has nothing to do with anything, but I just thought it was interesting. Chain letters stretch all the way back to the 1880s, when places like schools and orphanages would use them in an attempt to get funding. These money-centric letters got really popular in the Great Depression for obvious reasons, though using them for money-making purposes today is legally dubious at best. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, chain letters began migrating from the regular post into email format. A few articles over the past couple of months have suggested chain letters are making a comeback because of the pandemic, with emails asking cooped-up people to do things like share a recipe or an inspirational quote. Frankly, I don't think chain letters ever went anywhere. They've always been around, with their most recent iteration being in the form of social media posts. Instagram follow loops will require someone to follow all the people on a list, then add their name to the top of the list and share the post again, presumably in an attempt for everyone involved to get more followers. And of course, we've all seen those social media posts. They start by sharing some sad story about a boy dying of cancer or something similar. Then at the end, they'll say, "Share if you have a heart." Or maybe they even promise that a certain amount of money will be donated to a related charity every time the post is shared. Chain letters give people a sense of community and purpose, or annoyance and a unnecessary obligation, as CNN once put it. So that's all I have for you today on Carmen Winstead. I first heard this story around 2012 and figured out pretty quickly that it wasn't true. Still, when you read something alone in your room at night with all the lights off, you'd be surprised at how terrifying it can be. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and share it. And for more dark content, I hope you'll consider subscribing and hitting that bell. Also, let me know in the comments what you think about chain letters. Personally, I find them pretty annoying, but they are popular for a reason, so I'm curious to see what everyone else thinks. Thanks for watching and have a creepy day. Bye guys.